Welcome back to Sports Roundtable, State News' sports podcast covering all things MSU sports. But today, we're not actually covering MSU sports. Newsflash. I know that completely negates the intro, but we're going to be talking a little bit of professional sports because we got a big week coming up, Super Bowl week. But first things first, I'm joined by my guests.
I'm Maddie.
And I'm PJ.
Welcome to the show. PJ's back as a guest on Sports Roundtable. Very, very nice to see. But yeah, as I mentioned, we got a really big week coming up. The Super Bowl is this Sunday, and the NBA trade deadline is also coming up. That's going to be our second topic of this week. We've had some literally groundbreaking moves so far. Like, I still am kind of processing the big trade that we're going to get to soon. I don't want to spoil it just yet. But
No spoilers.
yeah, so we're actually going to start with the Super Bowl because it's the big game. It's the final game of the NFL season. It went very quickly. It feels like week one was yesterday, but we are here. Kansas City Chiefs versus Philadelphia Eagles. What do we think, guys?
Kansas City Chiefs versus Philadelphia Eagles. It feels like just yesterday it was them in the Super Bowl.
Kind of was.
Yay.
Yeah, they met this past 2 seasons ago in 2022, where Kansas City came out on top to get their first Super Bowl. They went back-to-back last year, and now they're trying to three-peat against the same team that they did it 2 years ago. But Kansas City won 38-35 in that first matchup. But the Eagles are a little bit different than they were 2 years ago. They've added a lot of pieces on defense especially, and they've had a very good season this year. They've kind of breezed through the playoffs a little bit, defeating Green Bay 22-10, the Rams 28-22, and the Commanders 55-23 in the playoffs so far. Very, very good statement, playoff run for them. What do you guys think about that?
You know, not to bring up my feelings, but I want to know what it would have been if the Eagles and the Lions would have ended up playing against each other, because I'm still processing the fact that the Lions are not playing this weekend. It really hurts my soul a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's obviously let me get words out. The Eagles and the Rams was a really great game because they did keep it close. That was a close game, in my opinion, when I was watching it. So it would have been interesting to see, one, if it would have ended up being even the Rams and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl or somebody else that we haven't seen in the past 3 years in the Super Bowl. It's repetitive. But it's going to be a good matchup no matter what, no matter if I feel like I want to watch it or not. It should be interesting to see who comes out on top and how many times the refs will get blamed for calls in the next month and a half or year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this whole season, the Chiefs went
15-2.
15-2 the regular season.
Yeah, and then there are so many games where I feel like it just went down to the final play, or it was within 3 points, and then the game against the Bills, there was obviously chatter about that. There are so many games where they've had where it's just been so close, and I think the Eagles are good enough to I think the Eagles are going to win.
Okay, I like that. We're getting straight into predictions. I love it. I actually do agree with your point a little bit, PJ, because I think the Chiefs are probably the most vulnerable that we've seen them since the Patrick Mahomes era kind of started. They really haven't had a season where they've had this many close games. They're kind of used to dominating, and especially for Patrick Mahomes, he hasn't looked Patrick Mahomes-esque the entire season. I mean, reading off his regular season stats, 3,928 passing yards. He didn't eclipse 4,000, I think, for the first time in it might be since he's a starter. 26 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, not that bad, but also just not accustomed to what we're seeing from Patrick Mahomes. And I think that just a lot of that wide receiver turnover, their wide receiver room looks a lot different than it has been in the past. They're rolling out DeAndre Hopkins in his very old ages now, and Juju Smith-Schuster, who's kind of been around the league a little bit. Xavier Worthy's a rookie, but also Travis Kelce only had 3 touchdowns on the year in the regular season, under 1,000 yards again. The Chiefs, they look a little bit vulnerable. We can't kind of shy away from that.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. And to bring up they've had a lot of close games this year. 11 games that they won this past season were all within a score.
Oh, wow.
So it's
I didn't know it was that
in
many.
every single game that has been within that close score, they've come out on top. They've either won by plus, minus, or within that small margin. So it'll be interesting to see if, obviously, I'm assuming this will probably be a close game as well between the Chiefs and the Eagles, but it will be interesting to see if Kansas City can pull off what they've done in the regular season by keeping that close margin and winning. I would like to see somebody else crowned, but it's just there's a lot of media, I think, surrounding Kansas City and what they've done in the past couple of years, and I think that people are starting to get sick of it, aside from Kansas City fans.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones that are like,
Right.
go Chiefs, and Jacob.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll get to that.
What do you guys think the Eagles have to do to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Eagles have kind of showed their formula a little bit, especially through the playoffs. They relied heavily on Saquon Barkley this year. That's no secret. He's obviously been their best player for them all year. In the playoffs, he's had 442 yards alone throughout 3 games, 5 touchdowns, and he had over 200 rushing yards against the Rams in that matchup in the divisional round. So he's been doing this the entire season. He had 7 60-plus rushing yard touchdowns. Like, the yard gainage of the touchdown was 60-plus yards. 7 of those, 3 in the postseason. By far, nobody has ever done that before.
He's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, you see Saquon Barkley, obviously, the Giants didn't win games, but Saquon Barkley was the only reason that they ever scored touchdowns. Saquon Barkley was the reason that the Giants were still talked about in a positive way. And to just see him, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm rooting for the Eagles, is because you see where he came from and you see where he is now. That guy deserves a ring. He deserves a ring more than anything. But he's been the MVP of this season, in my opinion. There's been other talks of different candidates, obviously, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, but Saquon Barkley's at the top of the list for me because he's helped the Eagles so much do what they're doing now. I also think that they're definitely going to have to stop Patrick Mahomes. He's a mobile quarterback. They have to get him. They have to be able to keep him in the pocket and not let him get anywhere. So, yeah, it's going to be a toss-up between the Eagles' defense and Saquon Barkley trying to pull through for them, I think, for this game.
Yeah, kind of going off that, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, okay, Patrick Mahomes, like, at his best, he's amazing. When he's not at his best, he's still an incredible quarterback, right? Like, he will still make these plays, right? So, going off what you said, like, the Eagles really have to stop him, even if he's not playing this well this postseason, it's still going to be tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I agree as well, because I think the Eagles also have kind of had to take a step up and really show that they're going to hang around in games too, because they've also been in close games throughout the season. They've been down a little bit, and their defense has been a big reason why they've been winning as well, just beyond the fact of Saquon Barkley being Saquon Barkley. Throughout the regular season, they had the first-ranked pass defense in the entire league, so they have been accustomed to playing that. They've really kind of clamped down opposing quarterbacks pretty well, but in the postseason, it spiked to 245.7 pass yards per game. Across the 3 games they played against Jordan Love, Matt Stafford, and Jaden Daniels. But it was 174.2 yards per game average against opposing quarterbacks that they lit up in the regular season. So that's a big jump. And then Patrick Mahomes is better than the 3 quarterbacks they've faced in the playoffs so far. And the 3 quarterbacks that I mentioned before Patrick Mahomes, they are all proven quarterbacks in this league. They're very, very solid, probably in that top 15, top 10 range for quarterbacks. So the Eagles are still going to have their hands full a little bit, especially how they've been playing a little bit the past throughout the playoffs. But I think that the Eagles still are built enough. Their defense was just nowhere near as good as it was 2 years ago when they faced Kansas City in the first Super Bowl matchup they had. And I think that the additions of the rookies, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, their secondary has been locked down this year. And those 2 guys that I just mentioned are rookies. They've also had C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. He played for them in 2022 when they went to the Super Bowl, but he is back as well. James Bradbury and Devontae Maddox were kind of the guys back there in 2022, and they've had their Philly treatment. They've got kind of cursed out by the fans and pushed to the curb a little bit, bringing these 2 rookies, but they have been doing their job, and I think that's a really good reason why Philadelphia's had success this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Cooper DeJean. I think that he's probably been one of the best defensive corners in the league this past year. I mean, the video that sticks out to me is him, Derrick Henry, trying to run towards the end zone, and he just grabs him by the waist and takes him down. I mean, I feel like that just says so much about Cooper DeJean and how much he's helped this Eagles defense this season.
Yeah, by far, and it's really kind of nice to see, especially from a rookie like you said, tackling Derrick Henry. Like that's there's NFL players that have been in the league for 10+ years that can't do that. I mean, that's really impressive stuff, and I think the training that Cooper DeJean puts himself through, his body's obviously in great shape. Like he's got the physique needed to be a lockdown cornerback in this league, and I think the Eagles are set up for success on defense to at least have a better effort than last time. I mean, 38-35 in the last Super Bowl that these guys met in, that's a boatload of points. So hopefully for the Eagles' case, they kind of clamp them down a little bit, but the Chiefs kind of want to get that offense going. And to mention the Chiefs again, I think that their last game in the divisional round against Buffalo, or the AFC Championship, against Buffalo was a good sign for them, because they did a they did put up 31 points. They've only done that twice all year, including the postseason.
Yeah.
So they put up one game in the regular season against Tampa Bay with 30 points or more. They did it against Buffalo in the championship round, but they're not used to scoring the ball as much as they really have been for the Chiefs standards. But I think that the Chiefs had a good sign, like I was saying last week or 2 weeks ago against Buffalo. I think that they kind of have a little bit of momentum going now, and they should be able to put that product on the field and hopefully put up some more points against the Eagles that is struggling a little bit in the playoffs.
Right. So we said what the Eagles need to do to win. Utilize Saquon Barkley, make sure that their defense is locked down on Patrick Mahomes. What do you think the Chiefs need to do to win this game?
Yeah, PJ, do you want to go first?
Do I? No, you could go.
Okay. I feel bad. I wanted to give you a little bit of screen time. You know, I got to show everybody some love. But
You're the Chiefs fan.
No. We are not putting that trademark on me.
Oh,
I
okay.
am not a Chiefs fan. I just think the Chiefs want the Chiefs to win because I live near Philadelphia territory, and those fans are kind of something else.
So who do you root for then?
I'm a Lions fan.
okay.
Family's all from Michigan. I've grown up a Lions fan my entire life. Dad's a Lions fan, so I'm safe there. Don't
So
you
not a
guys?
Chiefs fan. Sorry,
No,
guys.
I don't want to put that title on myself. I'd probably get some threats coming my way. But to go off Maddie's question of what the Chiefs need to do, I think they just need to show that their offense is legit. Patrick Mahomes has been here plenty of times before. This is his 4th Super Bowl appearance now, or 5th. It's
I think
it's
fifth. Yeah, it's his 5th Super Bowl appearance. Excuse me.
Which is insane.
But yeah, for how young he is, he's not even 30 years old yet. So
should not be legal.
yeah, no, I know. He's entering GOAT conversations already, and he isn't even like aged. But I think that they just need to show them that they are the Chiefs. They've been here before. Andy Reid is one of the best and most respected coaches in the league.
Yeah.
So he's going to be treating this like a business trip, like all the Chiefs players are going to be doing. I think their defense has been good. It's been kind of around like league average this year. 8th run defense in the regular season, 16th pass defense in the regular season. But they've kind of shown themselves, like I said, they built momentum against Buffalo. I think that's very important for them. They hadn't really had a game like that where they needed to be tested. They played a really, really injury-riddled Houston in the first divisional round of the playoffs. So kind of a test, kind of not a test. Buffalo was the first true test I think they had in a good amount of time, and they really handled business. They also handled business against teams in the regular season that were good. So I think that the Chiefs just need to show themselves, just settle down, take a breather, and just say, hey, we're the Chiefs. We got this. We've been here before.
They're also going to get home court advantage, so that obviously helps a lot. Kind of going off of the Patrick Mahomes GOAT conversation, I actually don't even want to like get into it. But
I disagree.
What?
Not yet.
One thing
Yeah, we got
though,
to pipe down the brakes.
I don't know if Stephen A. Smith was talking directly to Tom Brady or not. I don't know if you guys saw this, but like Stephen A. Smith was saying like, oh yeah, Patrick Mahomes, like with this win, he'll get back to back to back, or like he might win back to back to back, you know. And then he like said to Tom Brady like, you haven't even done that before. And it's just like that, like first of all, that was like a slight dig at him, but like
He hasn't done that before, but Tom Brady has rings on both fingers, both hands. Like,
yeah, I just thought that like put into perspective like how efficient he has been in his time as a starter.
oh, absolutely. But I don't think that he's in the GOAT conversation until
Yeah,
he's
I
got
know. I
at least
didn't
five.
wanna, like, start- yeah.
At least 5.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
safe to
also
say
just-
he's on track at least. Because we also got to remember that nobody else in NFL history has three-peated ever. So
Right.
just because Tom Brady couldn't do it doesn't mean that other people have to do it. This
Yeah.
is obviously groundbreaking territory, new territory for Patrick Mahomes to potentially achieve. So kind of pump the brakes on that a little bit. But interesting
Yeah.
point.
So, speaking of the GOAT conversation, what are your thoughts on Travis Kelce being in the GOAT conversation?
Maybe go tight end. I think for the
Well,
tight end
that's what I mean. It's
Okay,
like
yeah, I was
GOAT
about to
tight
say,
end
if we're
position.
jumping like from Patrick
not-
Mahomes
no,
to
no,
Travis
no, no,
Kelce
no,
there in a
no.
completely different conversation. But for tight ends, I think definitely. I think what comes to mind is Gronk,
That's
Tony
what I was gonna
Gonzalez,
say is Gronk.
and then Travis Kelce. I think that's kind of the big three. I think Rob Gronkowski is a little bit more accomplished than Travis Kelce was. Obviously, Kelce's great, puts up 1,000-yard seasons like it's making breakfast in the morning. He does it consistently. He catches all those touchdowns. But I think Rob Gronkowski was the more skilled player.
Yeah.
He was definitely stronger. He played the tight end position more purely. He obviously had Brady, but Kelce has Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's a very similar comparison. But I don't think Kelce's crossed that Gronkowski threshold yet. He still could, but I think you can't defeat the Gronk spike.
right.
That's what I was gonna say. You can't. Gronk. Kelce.
Yeah.
I also have a feeling that Travis is gonna retire at the end of the season.
That's what.
So,
That's been in
he's
the
got one
rumor
game
mill
left.
is like this season or possibly next season, kind of talking about a retirement for him, which I feel like he's probably got more gas left in him, but it would be interesting to see if he wins, if the Chiefs three-peat, is he gone or not?
Yeah, it might be safe to go out on top too, because obviously he's got more gas in the tank, but he's got 150K miles on himself. Like
Right.
he's put up a lot of steps in this league, and I think for his sake, obviously go out on top. I mean, you've already what more do you need to accomplish? Kind of just going back and trying to win more Super Bowls. You already have plenty of them. He's also dating Taylor Swift, so like that's very respectable. Just go home to that. Like you don't even need to play football, but he'd break the internet if he proposed and won a third. But yeah,
he also is doing other things. Like he was just in a show, like Grotesquerie or something. Yeah,
Commercials,
he's like doing more commercials. So I think he's kind of building this like entertainment empire besides playing football, which I think we'll see a lot more of after. And his podcast. Totally forgot about
Yeah,
that.
and I think that's kind of what Jason kind of did a little bit more towards the end of his career as well. Like you saw him and Kylie in a couple commercials together, and obviously building the podcast a little more. Like,
Yeah. So I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at something else.
Care to share with
okay,
I just remember the Jason Kelsey lookalike competition, and there were like 3 people that I thought were him, and I was just thinking about that. Like I don't know what I was thinking about. Yeah,
those kind of went around too. There was a Dan Campbell one, and
Yeah.
Jason Kelsey, Jalen Hurts had a lookalike competition. I mean, they are funny. I'll give you that.
I love Jason Kelsey. As much as I'm not a fan of Travis Kelsey, I love Jason Kelsey. That guy.
Yeah.
He deserves everything.
Yeah.
I love that family. Princess Kiana, Jason, all of their children.
They're great models for each other. Like
They are.
They're great role models too, just for the game of football, but also for family
Yeah, absolutely.
reasons. I think they're one of the most influential brotherhoods, families that football really has. I think it's good for the brand. They got the podcast. Like Jason retired last year, setting up the podcast. Travis can retire whenever he wants. They got a full media career ahead of them if they really want it. But
Yeah, they're set for life. And Jason's on Sunday Night Football now too. So
yeah.
So he's got-
analyzing the yeah.
he's got that going for him.
Yeah, Travis will probably receive plenty of calls too.
Oh, I'm
when,
sure.
when the game's over.
I'm sure they've both just got the personality to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I could see them doing the whole Eli Payton
Oh my
like.
God.
but
Sports
nobody can be
cast.
Eli and Peyton.
Right, of course. But yeah.
I mean, they're about as close as it gets, though. I feel like they
Yeah.
are very, very good, and they complement each other like perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
As brothers should. But yeah, so I think that's a good preview. But before we move on, I gotta get a prediction from everybody at the table. Give me a score prediction and who you think's gonna win the Super Bowl 59.
Eagles.
Score.
Eagles. I say 34-27. Eagles.
I like that. Some points, not as much as last time, but heavy Eagles.
Wow. I'm gonna say Eagles 28-24.
Okay, 28-24. We got 2 Eagles. I feel like I am gonna mess it up if I go Eagles, but also if I go different Chiefs. I've been thinking about this leading up to this podcast. I have no idea who's gonna win this game. I feel like it's very close. My heart wants to say Eagles just because like the Chiefs have already done it twice, but the Chiefs got the three-peat going. I'm just gonna be different. I'm gonna say the Chiefs are gonna win, not out of my kindness of my heart, but just my instincts. And I'm gonna say they're gonna win 24-17.
Wow.
A little bit low scoring.
That's a low score right there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of just pulled that out of my behind. So we'll kind of see how that translates.
We'll
But
see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And then after, we'll text each other and see who was closest. Because I was really close one time for something. Remember?
It was for MSU football.
Yeah.
What
I was
game
like,
it was.
I was like, dead
It was
on.
like a
yeah.
number off or something like
wait,
that.
what? Oh
I was gonna
yeah.
say, I think you switched on back yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So who
you're
knows?
the prediction master.
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back to these, but that's just a little bit fun to end the Super Bowl segment. But transitioning a little bit to a different sport in the sports world, we got the NBA. And if you follow the NBA any much like me and PJ do and a little bit like Maddie do, you're in for a treat this week because we had the trade deadline. It's still not even here yet, so there's potential for more moves to kind of come in the next few days. But I think Saturday night at about 12, I think it was 12:18 a.m.
It was just after midnight.
I was actually asleep. I didn't witness this live until I woke up, and I thought my phone was just bugging out. But if you missed it, the Lakers acquired Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Anthony Davis. And there's other pieces in there. So the full trade details, Lakers acquired Luka Doncic, Markieff Morris, and Maxi Kleber. From the Dallas Mavericks, the Mavericks acquired Anthony Davis, MSU, Tom Izzo-Prod, Max Christie. Shout out Max Christie. Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and the Los Angeles Lakers 2029 first-round draft pick. And the Utah Jazz were actually thrown in that trade as a third-team partner, which they acquired Jalen Hood, Shifno, and the Los Angeles Clippers 2025 second-round pick. So initial reactions, guys. That was a crazy one.
Yeah. So I was literally getting ready for I was in bed and I was just like I was about to fall asleep and then I saw the alert and I was like, is this real?
That was everybody's reaction.
Yeah. I was like, is this real? And I was telling Maddie this earlier, that happened, and I was like texting my parents, and I was like, did you just see what happened? And I was like texting my friends from back home who also follow basketball. I was like, what is happening? This is not why would they do this? And then it kind of came out for the reasons why which we can talk about in a sec, but which just seemed a little bit absurd. But yeah.
I mean, I don't follow basketball, NBA all that much, but I know who Luka is. And I was sitting on the couch and I got the notification and I just went, oh. I was like, hello? He was supposed to be, they were supposed to build a statue of Luka outside of that arena and then they ship him off to LA. Yeah. So that was oh my, anything can happen.
Yeah,
but you just don't expect the key piece of a team that's gone to the NBA Finals
just last year
to get rid of that key piece.
Yeah, This was one of the most puzzling initial trades that I can ever remember in NBA history. I mean, compared to KD signing to the Warriors, I feel like this is a little bit more surprising. I really don't remember a trade kind of happening like this in recent basketball history, but obviously the initial public reaction was this trade was a little bit puzzling, and I think it still was. It still is, too. The Mavericks, like Manny said, they made the NBA Finals last year based off Luka Doncic kind of getting them there. Obviously, they got Kyrie Irving there now, but I think most of it was because it was from Luka. He's a generational talent. He's been there since he got drafted in 2018. He's done so much for that city in such little time. He's 25 years old. He's still incredibly young, one of the best players in the NBA right now, probably a top 3 player. And they trade him to the Lakers. And that really came out of nowhere. We didn't know that Luka Doncic was available. We didn't know that Anthony Davis was available because I feel like as the NBA world kind of circulated, that they really weren't until this kind of happened. But obviously the big concern with the Mavericks and Luka Doncic was Luka's weight. Whether that's a good justifiable reason to trade him, I'm not entirely sure. But I think they said that Luka's weight was reaching that 260, 270 kind of peak. And I think that was just too much for them. They also came out with reports saying that Luka complained to the refs a lot. Mavericks didn't like it. Just his conditioning issues didn't really seem right up to par with what they hoped for. But I feel like it's a puzzling reason to trade your franchise player.
I feel like, it's very puzzling. He's not the best at conditioning or whatever, but he's also putting up 50 points against any team it's nobody's business. Okay, you can eat a chocolate bar if you want. I don't care.
If you're putting up the points that you are, you can go get Chipotle any day.
That's what I'm saying.
It was so, When I read that they just didn't like his conditioning, I was like, really? I remember, so Pablo Sandoval from the San Francisco Giants, his family, they ran a candy shop. And in the summer, he would gain weight because he would just go back or during the off season, sorry. And he would just go back and eat candy. But then it was fine because in the 2010 to 2014 era, he was insane. If he can still play well, who cares?
Right.
You know? So
I that's what I was gonna say is, if you're the Mavericks, why do you care so much about his weight if he's the reason that he's scoring half of your points on a singular night?
Yeah.
What's the problem then? it's not like no other player in the league argues with the ref. Like,
Right.
you see other players that are even more popular than Luka who argue with the refs, and they're with the team for their whole career.
Yeah.
So it's interesting for Dallas to give these reasons as to why they're trading Luka when there's other players in the league who are probably doing the exact same thing that he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you put up 50 points a night. You're the reason that your team is winning some of these games. Also, have fun in LA.
Yeah, I mean that's a crazy trade destination to go to. I mean, one of the things that I didn't even realize like initially right away is that Luka's being added to another, like he's being up there with the Lakers greats. Like he is now on the Lakers. He's playing amongst the likes of Kobe and LeBron and all these guys that have put on a Laker uniform. He joins them, and it's just crazy. I feel like there's got to be something a little bit maybe going on behind the scenes that we may not know, because obviously you can give a player like recommendations or like time frames to get your weight down, or like, hey, like if you don't start to work on your conditioning, we're gonna have to discuss some things, not just ship them off right away. And I think that's what's kind of really crazy about this whole thing. But it's a good fit for the Lakers. Let's not deny that. Obviously it kind of sets them up post LeBron era, because LeBron's only got a year or two left. His time is coming to an end, as sad as it is to say. But now that you got Luka Doncic, who's 25 years old and obviously one of the best players in the NBA, you can pair him with kind of anybody, and you're still going to win games. You're not going to be in the bottom, like you're especially with the play-in tournament and stuff. Like you're going to keep, if you have Luka Doncic on your team, you're going to be competing for a 10 seed. I don't care what team he's on. You can put him on the Washington Wizards. He'll do the same exact thing. And I think it's really good trade destination for Luka Doncic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good trade destination, but it's just still, there's so many questions of, like, they gave us a couple of reasons, but what are you hiding?
Yeah.
What are you not saying?
Right,
what are you not talking about of Luka getting traded? So
Yeah, it feels like a big hole. And
it does.
looking at the Mavericks side too, it's obviously a signal to the rest of the league that they're trying to win now. And I think that Anthony Davis getting shipped there kind of got overblown, obviously, by the Luka trade. But Anthony Davis is still a top 10 player, in my opinion, in the NBA. His defense is unbelievable night in, night out. He was just on a podcast with Shams Karina the other day talking about, we need another center because I am doing all the dirty work myself. I'm getting all these blocks, all these rebounds. I'm playing center as probably a true 4, borderline true 5. And I think he's going to fit really well there, especially with Kyrie Irving. They've got plenty of talent to kind of to make a push. They're 24 and 23 right now, so it's not like they're at the top of the standings, but they're right in the mix, and that's where they need to be. Put in Anthony Davis next to Kyrie Irving, and they got shooters around. I know they traded Kleba, who's one of their biggest shooters, but adding Max Christie also is an underrated piece. I know we're not just saying that because he went to MSU. He's actually a very good role player in the NBA. He can shoot the ball and stuff like that. So I think that adds another dimension to the Mavericks, and I think their identity changes a little bit. Obviously, they're not going to be playing the same kind of basketball that they were with Luka Doncic, but now that Kyrie operates the offense, changes a little bit of the dynamic. Anthony Davis in the post, blocking shots. I think it looks good.
Yeah. And also another piece of this is, like, obviously, like, Luka is kind of getting more attention because he was, like, the star for Dallas, right? And Dallas,
their franchise guy.
yeah, and, like, Dallas loved him, but also LA loved Anthony Davis. Like, they really did. He just, like, I mean, he's obviously one of the most well-known players in the league, but also, like, if you're on a team with LeBron, you're kind of going to be overshadowed a bit. But yeah, like, LA loved him. So it's really strange to see two players that are, like, just loved by the city and the fans just completely switching. It's so weird.
Out of nowhere, too.
Yeah, out of nowhere, yeah.
Man, it's crazy. And I feel like obviously both of these guys have handled it professionally very well. And reports are going to come out, videos are going to come out of their body language and all that and stuff like that. But there was a report that Luka did cry and that he bought a house in Texas days before he got traded. But despite the fact, I know it's very sad. I know. I know.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I didn't realize you guys didn't know that. But at the same point, he handled it professionally because obviously now he's in LA. He had an initial press conference. He boarded a private jet with Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris, got to LA, and he's handling it well. Anthony Davis was all smiles in their first meeting with the Mavericks and stuff like that. So I feel like from a professional side, that's what they're signing themselves up for. They know that players get traded. You don't know where you're going to play tomorrow. That's the reality of the NBA. But for star players like that, it kind of makes you wonder who really are the untouchables in the league, because we just saw Luka Doncic, 25-year-old franchise cornerstone, get traded. I don't know who's untouchable anymore.
Yeah.
Crazy. But that's pretty much the roundup with that trade. We have a few other little more significant ones, not as big as that, but another one that's very interesting for the NBA world is the Spurs-Kings-Bulls trade. We had the Sacramento Kings receive Zach LaVine, Sidi Sissoko, and the Charlotte Hornets 25 first-round pick, San Antonio's 2027 first-round pick, and Minnesota's 2031 first-round pick. They gave up that, or they received that, but they had to give up De'Aaron Fox, who went to the San Antonio Spurs. Him and Jordan McLaughlin are now in San Antonio, paired with Victor Wembanyama. And the Chicago Bulls, who traded Zach LaVine, a guy that's been there for a very long time now, kind of didn't really work out. They received their own 2025 first-round pick back from San Antonio. Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and Kevin Huerter, all very, very solid role players. And they waived Torrey Craig and Chris Duarte to clear room for this deal. This one's weird. What do you think, PJ? I know you're big on the NBA.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it because to me, like, De'Aaron Fox has just been like when I think of the Kings, I think of De'Aaron Fox. So it was very weird to see him go. But I think to me, he's the type of player that can fit anywhere. And he's just such a great player. So I think he'll fit in well with the Spurs. Zach LaVine, kind of the same. I don't know, kind of the same. Where I could see him play anywhere, and I think he's a solid player. No matter where he plays, he'll do a great job. But yeah, I got that alert, and I was confused again. I was like, "What is happening right now?" So yeah, what about you? Or you?
Yeah, no, Maddie, do you have any thoughts on it?
Not really.
That's totally fine. Totally fine. Just wanted to open the floor in case, but
Just smiling.
yeah.
I'm learning. I'm learning.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good NBA knowledge. But I agree with PJ because this was also a very puzzling trade to me. There was reports of this kind of getting into the works a little bit. Like before it happened, there was chatter about Fox going to San Antonio, and it's a really good fit for the Spurs. It kind of accelerates the rebuild a little bit. Obviously, they got Wembanyama, Chris Paul down there in San Antonio, very good, solid young pieces, Stephon Castle, and stuff like that. So they're built to win. The record's not incredibly hot right now, but they're making probably a play-in push, maybe low playoff seed push. But it's a very good fit for them. De'Aaron Fox is kind of the point guard they need. Chris Paul can mentor Fox a little bit and help him with his passing aspect of his game because we all know Fox can score the ball. But for Sacramento's perspective, Fox was also their franchise guy for just about as long as Luka Doncic was, even before Luka was drafted.
Exactly.
So it's a very similar situation. And, I don't really get trading him because they weren't playing bad. They're in the playoff picture.
So the Kings right now are in 8th. The Spurs are in 12th.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Kings are in 8th, and they have a 25-24 record. The Spurs are 21-26. I mean, it's not that big of a difference.
No.
So,
Playing, yeah.
and three teams. Maybe 4. Yeah, 3 teams. The Kings, Suns, and Warriors are all 25-24. So
Yeah.
it's very small difference.
Yeah, lots of room to make up there, and I think just that's why it's so puzzling for the Kings because they fired Mike Brown, their head coach, who took them to the playoffs for the first time in forever, broke the longest streak in North American pro sports, and then they let him go. They start winning games because the Kings were underperforming to start the year, and now they give away De'Aaron Fox. Obviously, I don't think they're a championship-built team with De'Aaron. I don't think that they were really going to – I feel like they kind of reached their peak a little bit. Sadly, they had that series where they lost in 7 to Golden State, didn't really get out the first round. But it's just puzzling. And Zach LaVine
Yeah,
I forgot about that. Zach LaVine going to the Kings as well is also a very good piece. He was an all-star player a few years ago. Shooter, can dunk the ball, kind of do everything for you. Just I don't really know where the Kings go. I feel like they're going from mid to mid.
Exactly.
They weren't good, really that good before, and now this kind of makes them worse.
It'll be interesting to see for the rest of the season and next season because I think both teams will need some adjusting. Same as the Mavericks and Lakers, obviously. I don't know. Any team after a big trade is going to need some adjusting. But yeah, I don't think the Kings or the Spurs are really going to improve so much.
Yeah, I have to agree. The Spurs is the only way I can see it working in the long term. Kind of rely on Fox at least for a little bit if he's not going to stick around there, but Chris Paul's not going to be there forever, so that kind of obviously leads Fox to be that main point guard. You got Wembanyama. He's probably going to be as good as Luka Doncic is for NBA comparisons for those of you that don't follow the NBA as much, but it's just weird. It's just so weird. And that trade really did puzzle me. It didn't make a ton of sense, but I think San Antonio got the biggest benefit. Probably go away as winners of that trade, but the Kings did receive a lot back.
Yeah.
They got 3 first-round picks from this, so kind of works out for them shipping off their franchise guy. But the last trade we're going to touch on today, and kind of the last segment of the episode, was a trade that went down today, probably while most of you were in class or at work or whatever, and it was between the Bucks and the Wizards, kind of something I don't think any of us expected. But the Wizards are receiving, or they trade. I'll start with what they traded away. They traded away Kyle Kuzma, who went to the Milwaukee Bucks. Very interesting, but they also had to give up. The Bucks had to give up Chris Middleton and A.J. Johnson. The Wizards also received Patrick Baldwin Jr., and the Wizards also received the 2024 first-round pick from Milwaukee. So it makes sense, but Chris Middleton's been there forever. Kyle Kuzma obviously has a different aspect to his game, but I'll let you touch on that, PJ.
Is it crazy of me to say that Kyle Kuzma isn't good enough for this trade? Sorry, I don't know. Sorry,
I agree with you. It's like a younger version of Chris Middleton with a different-ish play style, but weird.
Yeah,
it's weird. Go ahead.
I just don't think he's good enough to trade Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, and a pick. And Patrick Baldwin Jr. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my thought. I just don't think he's that good. No, he's good, but I don't think he's good enough for that trade.
Yeah, and I think giving up Chris Middleton's a little puzzling because that was their cornerstone. Obviously, I feel like the Bucks window's kind of coming to a close. I feel like it's there, but it's not. And Chris Middleton obviously helped them win a lot of games, was very impactful for a lot of their playoff series, like early Giannis days. But now he's 33 years old. He's not producing the same as he used to. Kyle Kuzma's a younger version of that, a little bit different of a play style, like we said, but he can still score. He's Kyle Kuzma putting a little bit of empty stats on the Wizards. He's not playing like amongst the names of Giannis or whatever until now, but I feel like, to your point, PJ, he's obviously not up there with the top 5, whatever, small forwards in the game, but he's respectable. He can score the ball. He's okay on defense. Didn't help the Wizards win a lot because he's not a number one guy, but I think he fits into his role a little bit as a third option, especially behind Damian Lillard and Giannis. And I think this is the Bucks' kind of last chance. I think that's what they're going for. They know that they won their title a few years ago in 2021. They have kind of come up short as of recent. This is kind of their last push, I think. And it should be interesting to kind of see how it works out in the future.
Definitely, yeah.
Shout out Kyle Kuzma, Flint native. That's all I have to say.
Well, that was very necessary. Maddie's NBA knowledge and
That was very necessary.
Hey,
Yeah.
if you had me in here talking about the trade deadline for the NHL, we could be sitting here for hours.
different story. I would let you go on all about that. 'Cause
Exactly.
So it balances out, everybody. That's what we get here with Sports Roundtable. But
That's all that matters.
that is all that matters. We love it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much going to do it for today's episode. Obviously, a lot to talk about and a lot of interesting storylines developing. I'm sure we'll see a lot kind of in this next week before the next episode next Wednesday. So probably lots to talk about there. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been a pleasure to talk alongside PJ and Maddie for an hour. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And I hope you guys have a good one.